The Boston Red Sox have signed a player who should instantly become a fan favorite. Find out more on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And honestly, who doesn't love free, right? Might as well take advantage of that and tune in to Locked On Red Sox. Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the show where we have welcomed a new member to the Boston Red Sox, and I'm going to be diving all into that on today's show, as well as talking about a little bit more content related to spring training. I mean, the players are there now. It's hopefully good vibes, ready to get back to baseball. I do wonder if there is a sense of frustration among the players due to the lack of big moves made this offseason. I haven't heard a whole lot about those kinds of vibes, but hopefully everybody's ready to just be back to baseball. I mean, I'm just tired of the winter, tired of the cold. Let's move on to spring, baseball season, and good overall vibes. And somebody who can help bring some good vibes to Boston is closer Liam Hendriks, who the Red Sox agreed to a 2-year, $10 million deal with on Monday. He has a ton of upside, a lot of things to like about him, so I want to dive into all of that. But first, in terms of the details of the contract, it does include performance bonuses that can bring the value up to $20 million and includes a mutual option for 2026. So basically what that means is that at the end of the 2025 season, both Hendriks and the Red Sox can reevaluate where they're at. If they feel like they want to bring him back, that could be an option. If he feels like he wants to come back, that can also be an option. They basically both have to agree on whatever it is they do. So the good thing about this signing for Boston is that it's not taking a massive gamble. It's only a 2-year deal. One downside is that he is going to miss all, if not a good chunk, of the 2024 season. He underwent Tommy John surgery on August 2nd to repair a torn right collateral ligament, and he does hope to return at some point this season. He's on the early side of the 12 to 14 month recovery timeline, but that still wouldn't put him back in the majors until after the All-Star break. So that's something the Red Sox would have to decide is, do they want to push him to come back and have him be used in 2024 at all? Or do they want to just not rush his recovery process and wait till 2025? I think a lot of that would depend on where they're at. Are they in a position where they can contend? Are they fighting for a wild card spot? If so, I could see them trying to stick him in there as early as possible, help him win some games for Boston. Or they are not at all in contention, which is what a lot of people are expecting them to be at. And therefore, they decide that they want to wait and not rush his recovery and let him join in the action in 2025 when he's hopefully fully healthy. He has had quite the journey in Major League Baseball, including this injury. I mean, it's not uncommon for relievers to return faster from Tommy John than starters because there's less of a buildup in terms of pitch count. So his arm typically hasn't been worked as much as a starter's would. But there's still a recovery process involved, and you want to be careful not to mess with it. And one thing that's a risk with a player coming back from Tommy John surgery, and we saw it with Chris Sale too, was you don't know exactly how the player is going to bounce back. Is he going to be the same type of pitcher and as effective as he was prior to the surgery? There's always that risk. I think that's a risk the Red Sox are willing to take, is can this work out in the longer run in 2025 for them? Can they get a pitcher who is going to take some time to recover and then can come back and help seriously contribute in 2025? I mean, we've seen pitchers who have missed a good portion of the season come back and be effective, and James Paxton was a good example of that. He pitched pretty well overall during the 2023 season, but he had missed the entirety of the season before that with an injury. And you don't really know when they're removed from the game for a bit how they're going to respond and bounce back. But he could be somebody that really pays off for the Red Sox in 2025. He's a 3-time All-Star, and he's also just easy to root for given his talent, his personality, and his journey. He's such a hard worker. He always wants to be out there. He was also the AL Reliever of the Year in 2020 and 2021, which were 2 seasons that he finished 9th and 8th respectively in the Cy Young voting. His career turnaround really began in 2015 when the Blue Jays converted him into a full-time reliever, but it really then took off upon becoming the closer for the A's in 2019, and he maintained that momentum throughout his first 2 seasons with the Chicago White Sox. Despite the on-field success that he's had as a notable closer, that's just a small part of his story, because he took a massive detour in January 2023 when he had been diagnosed with lymphoma. It was very sad for the baseball community. He underwent chemotherapy to combat a disease that he was in stage 4 for, and then miraculously returned to the majors May 29th and was named American League Comeback Player of the Year. It was a pretty incredible situation to see him be able to return to baseball as quickly as he did, but that speaks a lot to his resiliency and his desire to continue to want to be out there and play the game that he loves and not be afraid to jump back into it and help his team when needed as much as possible. It shows that he's brave. He's willing to overcome any obstacle to get back to the baseball field. And that's the type of player you want on your team. He is an easy player to root for and somebody who everybody in the baseball community can speak to and say they were really looking forward to watching him pitch when he came back and wanted to see him succeed. I think that gives such good vibes to the Red Sox. A player who truly is there because he loves baseball and will do whatever it takes to get back to the game he loves. He has the heart for it. He has the talent for it, and could be a great clubhouse leader for Boston, for a team that's really looking for it, especially among the pitching staff. When there are some young pitchers on this team, he can help contribute to being one of those leaders out of that bullpen that the Red Sox need. When he arrived in Charlotte to begin his rehab assignment with the White Sox, he rocked a shirt that read "Struck Out Cancer," which was such a fitting wardrobe choice for him, and it just conveyed his personality so much. There's just so many things to like about him, and obviously his on-field talent. He gets a lot of ground balls that he generates. That's great for Fenway. He also has a splitter that's a really good pitch of his. I think his arm is very Fenway friendly, and he could very much succeed out of the Red Sox bullpen. But again, the question just is, with how much time he's going to be removed from the game, is he going to be able to bounce back in the same way and be as effective? It's just a great person for the Red Sox to have around. You know, even if he isn't the same dominant Liam Hendriks that he was, you're still going to root for him, and he's still the type of player that you want to see succeed no matter what. And it just brings good vibes to what's been a frustrating offseason for Boston so far. Maybe he'll return in 2024. It's hard to really know for sure and take a chance on that if he's not ready. But either way, I'm very excited to watch him pitch when he does pitch. And one thing that definitely helps is that New Red Sox right-handed starter Lucas Giolito used to be teammates with him in Chicago and expressed how excited he was to have Hendriks on board in Boston. Giolito was basically saying, he texted me, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in my closet getting dressed. What do you mean?" It was the most random thing ever. He said, "I'm in the breakfast room." I'm like, "What do you mean? What's going on?" I was pretty pumped. When I got here, I saw him briefly. He was doing all his physical stuff. I'm sure tomorrow I will spend more time with him. So that creates another sense of a bond there that Giolito and Hendriks has, something that can get them excited to both be in Boston. Because honestly, prior to this move for a lot of this offseason, I was asking myself, how are players going to be excited to play in Boston right now? They don't know the direction of the team. They don't know if they're seriously trying to be competitive or not. And that can be frustrating for a player, especially ones who want to be in a winning culture and on a winning team. So the fact that those two have this bond as former teammates hopefully can help elevate the spirits of the Red Sox team in general. Now, for Hendriks, in 2023, he only pitched 5 games to a 540 earned run average with a 2-0 record. Again, way too small of a sample size from that season to go off of his last year that he had. But he just brings a ton of energy to any clubhouse he's in. And once he gets right from surgery, I'm totally looking at him to step up and be the guy. And this also makes you wonder what this means for Kenley Jansen's future. Jansen is the Red Sox closer. There have been a lot of rumblings that the Red Sox might be shopping him this offseason because he is a free agent at the end of the 2024 season. So if the Red Sox move him now, they'd get something in return for him as opposed to just letting him walk at the end of 2024. But to me, this deal screams we definitely don't plan on hanging on to Kenley Jansen. I think that they see Hendriks as the guy who's going to be the closer come 2025 and on. And especially if there's a chance he comes back during the 2024 season, maybe it's the type of situation where they trade Kenley closer to the trade deadline as opposed to trading him now so that they can still have that concrete, solid closer until Hendriks does come back. But they also, like they've talked about before, might move Kenley now and try somebody else like Garrett Whitlock or Tanner Houck in the closing spot and see how that goes for them. And then have Hendriks climb into that closing role after, have kind of a bridge closer. But this certainly does tell me that Kenley Jansen is out the door soon, whether that means they let him be the closer through 2024 because Hendriks they don't see actually being available to pitch till 2025, and then they just let him walk during free agency, or they try to actively trade him now, use a bridge closer, and then Hendriks, when he comes back, can either close games or be a setup man out of the bullpen, depending on where he's at. So this kind of solidifies more to me that maybe Kenley Jansen is going to get moved sooner than we think. So that's something that the Red Sox, I'm sure, are looking at. And I like this move a lot. This is a move that I've truly felt good about that the Red Sox have made this offseason. I just think he has the personality for anybody to want to root for him. He loves baseball. He has the desire to win and the desire to succeed. He's overcome a lot of things in the last couple of years that have really allowed him to develop a sense of fight and desire and continuing to work through any struggles and obstacles that he goes through. The Red Sox need that energy, and I really like this move. I'm rooting for Hendriks. Hopefully we see some time from him sooner rather than later in a Red Sox uniform. He might quickly become my favorite player on the team as soon as he steps foot on the field. Just such an inspirational player and a great guy to root for. So happy to have him in Boston. We'll see what that means in terms of other moves that the Red Sox might make in the next couple weeks here. Coming up, speaking of moves and lack thereof, the Red Sox had a team legend that kind of expressed some frustration about the way that this offseason has gone. So I'm going to be diving into that next. If you're like me, that means you probably are a little bit clueless when it comes to cars and car parts and what you're supposed to do if something in your car isn't working. I remember I always, growing up, had to text my dad when I first started driving about certain things that went wrong with my car and not knowing what to do with it. But eBay Motors will save you all of that time and can be that resource for you when something's going wrong. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So if you're ever looking for car parts and you need somebody to help guide you, check out eBay Motors. Also, you should check out Locked On Sports today, as we've actually launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's available both on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV. It's a 24/7 streaming channel where we cover the top sports stories of the day with all the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So if you feel like you want to stay caught up in all things sports, subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube or look for it on Amazon Fire TV. Dustin Pedroia is such a well-respected guy among the Boston Red Sox organization. Just was a true role model for the game when he was playing and an easy player to root for, had so much success in a Red Sox uniform. And he's not satisfied with the way the Red Sox have approached this offseason. He let that be known to multiple members of the Red Sox front office on Sunday evening. I guess Sam Kennedy and fellow Red Sox executives were out to dinner on Sunday when Pedroia voiced his opinion on a FaceTime call. He called them and basically reminded the Red Sox front office of the key free agents that are still available on the market and trying to explain what opportunities might be out there. He was pretty clear about his feelings, and based on that, it sounds like he was kind of echoing the feelings of the fan base, the frustration and just this unknown about the future. It's just been overall a disappointing offseason despite Tom Werner's comments about the Red Sox going full throttle to improve the roster. It's just been another winter filled with minor moves that doesn't drastically improve the team to the point that it should, seeing that they finished in last place in both 2022 and 2023. And PD's right. There are several free agents who are still on the market, including reigning NL Cy Young winner Blake Snell. I can't believe he hasn't been signed yet. I mean, maybe teams aren't as high on him as we think they should be because he does have a problem with injuries. He does walk a lot of guys. So there are things that may be at risk for a team if they sign him, and maybe they don't see that he's worth the kind of money that he's asking for. And also, World Series champion left-hander Jordan Montgomery, who was absolute lights out in the postseason last year, is still available. As well as Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman. Those are four players right there that if the Red Sox were to sign any of them right now, would make the team better. But I'm not really finding any optimism that they might do that. I would just be truly surprised if they do. And the reasoning for this being important is because Dustin Pedroia has been part of a winning culture. He knows what the Boston Red Sox looked like when they were winning championships. They had a lot of all-star caliber players on the team. They were a franchise that a lot of players dreamed about going to because they're one of the most historic and successful franchises in baseball. They were willing to spend money and go out and get those players needed to succeed and bring a championship caliber team to Boston. And now that tone has really changed with ownership. They just don't seem as willing to utilize their wallets to acquire talent that is high end that can help make the Red Sox a more competitive team. And if you have Dustin Pedroia saying it, who's one of the most successful second basemen in Red Sox history, that's very telling that people from the outside are noticing and people who are knowledgeable baseball minds are noticing. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Boston Red Sox have lost their way and lost their identity. And Alex Cora echoed a similar sentiment in his comments from spring training on Monday, where he basically said he wanted the Red Sox to get back to what people know them as. He feels like the Boston Red Sox have lost their identity and are no longer being looked at as the same Boston Red Sox that we've all known and loved over the years. I mean, this is not the type of Boston Red Sox team that I fell in love with when I was a kid. There were a lot of good players on the team that were absolute legends that were easy to root for, including somebody who is in a picture behind me back here in Big Papi, David Ortiz himself. Who is that type of player now? I mean, of course, Rafael Devers is the guy, the star of the team, the face of the franchise. But is he going to get to be the caliber of player that David Ortiz was? I mean, there's a lot he still has to do in order to be looked at as being at that level. And the numbers he's been putting up aren't fully on pace with that. So you have to sit back and wonder, who from this Red Sox team are we going to remember years and years down the road? And we always knew we'd remember guys like Manny Ramirez, Pedro, David Ortiz, Dustin Pedroia. Those are all legends that put on a Boston Red Sox uniform. So Pedroia knows what winning is like. He knows what the Red Sox used to be, and it's probably pretty sad for him to see what the Red Sox have become. And as somebody who should be super well respected among the Red Sox franchise, that should be something that lights a fire in this ownership group. And if it doesn't, I really don't think anything will. I thought Theo Epstein being back as part of the organization would spark something in Red Sox ownership to want to break out the wallets and not be passive with their offseason moves and be more aggressive to put a championship team on the field. But that hasn't seemed to work as well so far. So then you have Dustin Pedroia coming in and saying, look, there are a lot of free agents still left on the board. Just so you know, what are you doing? You should sign one of these guys. And Petey knows. He knows the Red Sox culture. He knows what it's like to put on a Boston Red Sox uniform. And he's probably looking at this roster right now and saying, this team might get swallowed by a lot of the other teams in baseball, especially in their division or even just more generally in the American League. And that's pretty sad, to say the least, is a player of that caliber who's probably looking back and saying, what happened to the team that made me into the player that I was? And hopefully the Red Sox look at the situation and say, yeah, we should be signing somebody else. Hendriks is a good step in the right direction for sure. He's a likable player. And again, like I said, he doesn't have to be the best closer ever in order for him to be a fan favorite in Boston. His personality alone will help with that, and just his drive and determination and what he's been through and how he's been able to bounce back is automatically going to give him a sense of credibility that we know he'll put in 100% no matter what. And that alone is going to get him far. So that's a good move. But the Red Sox do need to do more. I'm glad Pedroia wasn't afraid to step up and say, what are you doing? Why haven't you been more aggressive this offseason? It's very telling that he's on the same page as a lot of us. So don't think you're crazy if you think that the Red Sox this offseason have not done enough to make them a competitive team. Again, I was talking about on the show yesterday, if you tuned in then, the Red Sox seem to be in the mindset of 2024 is still a bridge year for us, and we don't see ourselves being in contention until 2025. And with this Liam Hendriks signing, it kind of fits that mold too, because the likelihood for him is that he won't be able to pitch until 2025. So because of that, that kind of fits into that mindset of, yeah, 2025, a lot of the talent we have coming up over the next couple seasons, they're going to be the future of the franchise that helps lead us back to being the competitive World Series caliber team that Red Sox fans have been desiring. but they won't say that. They didn't seem to say it to Pedroia, and they won't just come out and say 2024 is a bridge year for us for a door that we're opening in 2025. And even if they do say that, is it true? Because we've been in bridge years for quite a few years now, and it seems to be, a long, dragged out process. So if you're in a bridge year, say it. Seems again like they are based on these moves, but I'm happy PD said something because maybe it will change the tune a little bit in terms of the Red Sox just relying too much on the development of everybody in their system and going out and getting some proven guys. We are one day closer to opening day, though, however, no matter what the Red Sox roster does look like. So I'm going to be diving into a key player to wear number 37 in Boston next. My fiance got into sports betting recently, and I've seen him win a lot of money with FanDuel because you can build a lot of different bets. He's used to making basketball bets, so I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do over the next few nights until basketball does return from the All-Star break. But he made a bet on the All-Star game. He put the Eastern Conference to win, and they won, so good for him. And there's a lot of different types of bets you can make, so you have the chance to win a lot of money. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. It's honestly so much fun for people who love sports betting. So if you're thinking about getting into it or you already enjoy it, FanDuel's the place for you. You know what else is the place for you? Locked On Sports Today. We've actually launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's also now available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. It's a great way to stay caught up in everything going on in sports without feeling like you're behind on anything. So if you want to be in that situation and not have to scroll through Twitter constantly to catch up on everything, head to Locked On Sports Today. We are getting closer and closer to opening day. We are 37 days away. That's not that long. I mean, that's going to be here before we know it. It'll go by very fast. It'll seem like it's not going by super fast in the moment, maybe because this offseason's been such a drag for Boston, but it'll be here. It's right around the corner. And due to that, there is a notable player to have worn number 37 in Boston, and that was Bill Lee, who was also known as Spaceman. He hit the 17 win mark in 3 straight seasons from 1973 to 75 and won 94 games over his 10 seasons with the Red Sox. On November 7th, 2008, Lee was inducted into the Red Sox Hall of Fame as the team's record holder for most games pitched by a left-hander and the 3rd highest win total by a Red Sox southpaw. On August 23rd, 2012, he signed a contract to play with the San Rafael Pacifics of the Independent North American League at age 65. In addition to his statistical baseball accomplishments, he's known for his kind of antics on and off the field. But he's also written 4 books, one of them being about the Red Sox in particular, the Little Red Sox book, A Revisionist Red Sox History. And he also wrote Baseball Eccentrics, the most entertaining, outrageous, and unforgettable characters in the game. So he has a multitude of talents for sure. I mean, being able to retire from baseball and also write books and go down as a very notable pitcher is pretty impressive, to say the least. He lacked a good fastball, but developed some off-speed pitches. And that's kind of what helped him to be successful. He's the last Red Sox player to miss time during the season for his military obligation after being on active duty in the Army Reserve from June 1st to October 1st, 1970. He definitely had a personality for sure. an interesting one. He just didn't always get along the best with everybody. He clashed with some people in the Red Sox organization because they just had completely different personalities, and he didn't agree with the way Red Sox manager Don Zimmer was handling the pitching staff. So that was kind of notable for people too. But he was talented. He definitely was a pitcher who was able to go out there and get the job done, won some games with the Boston Red Sox, and it's really interesting to look back and say, oh, memories. It's interesting. It's a player who wore a Boston Red Sox uniform that sometimes people do forget about when they're thinking back to Red Sox history because it was earlier Red Sox history. His MLB debut was June 25th, 1969, and his last appearance was May 7th, 1982 for the Montreal Expos. He was actually traded at the end of 1978 to the Expos for Stan Poppe, a utility infielder. Lee bade farewell to Boston by saying, "Who wants to be with a team that will go down in history alongside the 64 Phillies?" Lee won 16 games for the Expos in 1979 while being named the Sporting News National League Left-Hander of the Year. His professional career ended in 1982 when he was released by the Expos. So, again, he definitely let some off-field stuff distract him and kind of ruin a little bit of his professionalism and reputation, but it doesn't take away from the talent that he had as a pitcher and that he did spend a lot of time with the Boston Red Sox from 1969 to 1978. He was also an all-star in 1973, so definitely some career accolades to go with him. But yeah, Bill Lee is a notable player to have worn number 37 for the Boston Red Sox as we look back and say, okay, 37 more days to go. Any more big moves the Red Sox are going to make this week? Only time will tell. But as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.